welcome to Soap Hub Says. I'm Amber Sinclair, the managing editor of SoapHub.com.
And I'm Alina Adams, Soap Hub writer and the author of soap opera tie-ins like Oakdale Confidential and The Man from Oakdale for As the World Turns and Jonathan's Stories for Guiding Light. My latest book is called Go On Pretending, and yes, it is also about soap operas.
Every week, we'll be here to talk about what we loved, what we hated, and what we have questions about for every show.
Well, I'm going to kick off talking about Beyond the Gates by saying, okay, I know that soap scripts are written way in advance. I know that they're filmed way in advance, but all I know is last week you and I discussed about how Madison, the mystery woman, her big secret seems to be that she's a neurologist, and if she is a doctor, she has to be a lot older than Chelsea. And what do you know? Then immediately a few days later, they have a scene where Madison's suddenly going, oh, I did high school in 3 years and then I flew through college. So I'm going to assume that was us. They heard us saying, how much older than Chelsea is Madison? And they put that scene in. I'm not insane, but I'm just going to go with that.
Yes,
and the other thing,
very gifted child, very gifted.
it is. She was one of those prodigies. She's basically young Sheldon.
Right?
We shall call her Young Madison from now on. That will be our name for her. So, and the other thing that I want to talk about is Anita has just hightailed it out of town. She's off to Chicago to do what is she going to do? Oh, she's recording with the Articulates, which leads Vernon with nothing to do. Now, to be fair, Vernon has had nothing to do for a while beyond kind of walk from room to room. In fact, there was one episode last week where he was in 3 different sets talking to 3 different people going, really? But now that Anita is gone, I gotta say, let's get a story for Vernon. I mean, the man is a politician, okay? Nobody becomes a successful politician without making a lot of enemies and having a closet full of skeletons. Now, I know everybody who comes up to him has to tell him how wonderful he is, but yes, that's what we call the public face. What about the private face? I realize we're supposed to think he pulled some strings, something with Martin, and maybe that's his story, but that seems to be Martin's story. I want to get a story about Vernon. I want to hear about Vernon's past. I want to hear about all the horrible things he had to have done to become successful. And I don't think his entire story should be about that waiter that keeps lurking in the country club. I have called him Lurky. Whenever I see him, I go, oh, look, it's Lurky, because that's what he seems to be doing. And he's not exactly threatening. So I'm hoping that if there is a story for Vernon or for Martin, it will involve more than our new friend, Lurky.
I'm hoping it's something. They need to give us something. They haven't really given Martin or Vernon like a big personality yet.
No, their personality seems to be nodding. They nod a lot. They're good at that.
It's like, yeah, they're just like the side characters who support everybody. Like, we need personality. We need story.
Well, no, Martin periodically throws a book, and then he lies to his husband and tells him to stay home. Oh, and then periodically they use Tide or Febreze. That is something that they both have done. But I would just like to say at this time, I am not in any way knocking Tide or Febreze. Okay, so I was at a party this weekend where someone didn't know where the soap in soap operas came from. So I had to enlighten them, and I had to talk about Procter & Gamble, which is why I have no objections to Tide and Febreze getting all those close-ups. It pays the bills, gets our shows on the air. That is all I have to say about that.
I will say, Beyond the Gates during May was the only show that understood what sweeps was.
Oh yeah. It's like they were the only ones who got the memo from CBS saying, hey, remember sweeps?
Right, but now that it's June, they've slowed down a little bit. And I kind of miss that fast-paced drama. I'm hoping we get back to it because they've been fast-paced drama since the beginning. So maybe they just need like a little, I don't know, break.
No, they need a little breather.
Like breathe. Kind of like Bold and the Beautiful needs to speed things up too. I gotta say. Bold and the Beautiful.
What do you think they need to speed up most?
Oh my God. Luna's had that gun for how long and no one's gotten shot?
Really?
Like now she has her camera out stalking Hayes. Where did this unemployed girl get a camera like that from? Like it's like a paparazzi.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she's very charming. I'm sure she just went into the camera store. Do they still have camera stores, by the way? I'm very old. I assume everyone just sort of shoots on their phone. And she went, camera, please.
Well, I mean, she did call a random guy for a gun, so maybe she has
Now,
camera dealers too?
here's the thing. You know how people say, I have a guy? I don't have a gun guy. Maybe that's very un-American of me, but I don't have a gun guy. I
I'm
don't
too
have a
Canadian for
camera
that,
guy. Yeah. So let's look at it this way. If Luna has a gun guy, let's assume she has a camera guy.
right? I have like a goose egg guy. Like, you can go to him and buy your goose eggs.
And see, I don't have one of those either. I'm feeling more deprived with every moment of this podcast.
Also, like, she's stalking Hayes, who's not baby Hayes anymore. We have child Hayes.
Well, the one thing we do know about soaps is, there's the little baby, which you can carry around, but, and you have kids as well. There's a stage where they will just not stay put. There's the baby stage where you can pretty much do whatever you want. Although I do always enjoy babies on soaps grabbing at the actress's ears and hair, and you can see them sort of trying to fight off the baby. But then the minute they can walk, they want to walk. And if you set them down on a soap set, you can't see them, which is why kids are always being carried around on soaps, actually, because, soaps we shoot above the head and below the knees. So anyone who's like below knee size is always carried, which is why even some big kids, like on soaps, you sometimes see like 5 and 6-year-old kids being carried around.
Yeah.
That's basically so they can have them on camera. But on soaps, the child is a sweet, adorable baby. And sometimes they're a baby for like a lot longer than they should be. It's like you're still looking at the baby and it's more like a wrapped sausage. Like, I think it Holly on Days of Our Lives, who before she became a teenager was like a baby for the longest time. And Victoria, or is it Rachel, when Sarah had her, for the longest time they were saying she's in the bassinet there on Days of Our Lives. And she was making cooing sounds, and the baby had to be like a year and a half old. And you know what happens if you put a year and a half year old in a bassinet?
The
Nothing
weird
good.
Days
It
of Our
involves,
Lives baby breathing noises.
yeah. I'm sure they have one button they push for Days of Our Lives baby.
I did an interview with with Paul Telfer and Lindsay, and they talked about the baby when they were carrying around Victoria. It's apparently like this really hideous baby that they wrap up in the blanket, and they said that it's terrifying to look at.
And it also never grows.
Right? I do also have to mention with B&B, we got the mention of the long-lost baby Jack today.
Oh, who I assume is he still a baby in a basket, or is he an adult now?
He lives in Paris and works in the fashion world.
Does he? I mean,
Brooke talked to him yesterday.
Does no one have any other career ambitions except fashion? I mean, okay, look at me. I'm clearly not a fashion person, but come on, in that entire family, everybody's into fashion. Doesn't anybody ever go, I want to be a longshoreman or something? Or what's their version of rebellion? I want to do computer science. That would be it.
Bridget did rebel by becoming a doctor.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, she's a rebel and she'll never ever change that, Bridget. Yeah,
rebel in like the greatest way possible.
Yeah. So so Jack also is in fashion. What does he do? Do we know? Do we care?
They didn't really say much. They more concentrated on like Brooke's like, yeah, I talked to him yesterday. Like, she's like mother of the year to this child she hasn't seen since like a month after he was born. Yeah. Now all of a sudden she has like this close connection to Jack. So kind of hoping they bring him on.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say.
Sure, he is because nobody has seen him.
Well, soaps don't mention someone without a reason. So I'm assuming that means we're going to get a Jack sighting soon. But so many people have come on. I mean, how many RJs have we had? It doesn't really, doesn't seem to work.
No. We got to talk about Days of Our Lives with John's funeral. Speaking of people back on set that we haven't seen in a while.
You know what I loved? My favorite part of it, and it was all excellent. I did love Belle doing the ode to his eyebrow, because, whenever anybody does a Drake imitation, they have to do the eyebrow. So it was wonderful to know that it wasn't just us, in the viewing audience who knew that John/Drake had the eyebrow thing. So that was hilarious and so moving. And I also really loved how they did the flashback when John and Marlena's kids, both biological and adopted, each came up with the flower. And that was a really clever idea where they did the voiceover from the flashback, but they had the present day kids except for Sammy, and that's a whole other thing. The role of Sammy will now be played by Paul. But I was actually wondering why they didn't show us the whole flashback, and it made me think, do you think it's so they had to pay for the kids? Do you think it's because if they had used because they just showed us John and Marlena, and the child actors, maybe they would have had to pay them. But what was also really, really nice is they talked about how everyone is their child. Like, even though, John raised Eric and Sammy, even though they're technically Roman's kids, and Carrie is also Roman's and Anna's and all of that, and Belle is the only one they have in common, but Brady is Isabella's child. And it was just so lovely how they acknowledged what a family is. It was something actually really nice that Another World did. It was a very similar situation. The actor Douglas Watson had died, so they killed off Mac, the character he had played, I think, for decades on screen, and then they had his children, only one of whom was actually biologically his, but they all felt like they were his kids. And that's something that soaps do really well. I think they actually do show that family comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. So if I can get on my yay soapbox, soapbox, pun, Procter & Gamble. But here's the thing, because, we have so much fun with the shows, and we like nitpick, and we do our little funny little jabs, but it's A, because we love the genre.
Yes.
And B, there are some things that soaps specifically do really well, in that they show all sorts of different types of families without actually really drawing attention to it. And because we see how these families come together, we don't just have to sort of take their word for it. We got to see it. So that is something that soaps do well. And another thing that Days of Our Lives did spectacularly well this week is, in addition to the flashbacks of John, we got all the classic 80s super couples, not just Marlena and John, but Bo and Hope, and Kimberly and Shane, and Jack and Jennifer, and they were outside.
No.
Did you see the outside when Jack and Jennifer got washed up on an island? That was really an island. When Bo and John were fighting on a cliff, that was a real cliff outside. I miss soap outside.
I know.
Guiding Light tried to do it in their last couple of years. They actually decided to shoot everything outside because they wanted it to look more like a reality show, which, again, you got to try new things in the genre. Whether you liked it or you didn't like it, you have to respect the fact that they sort of took that big swing, but that did not go well. So I'm wondering where we can find the delicate line between the beautiful outside that we saw in Days of Our Lives and the less beautiful outside of Peapack, New Jersey, which Guiding Light did in its final years.
We have to talk about General Hospital with Lucky now.
What?
I've been dying.
What? Lucky, what? What just happened? What just happened? Lucky came on, and we wasted weeks on him playing cards as a hostage. I mean, what was that, like a year and a half? Okay, maybe it wasn't.
Oh my God, right?
It was just him playing cards.
We got like
Then-
basically zero time with him.
Yeah, then he comes back to Port Charles, and he spends most of his time protecting Christina, the attempted murderer, while Liz's leg is broken. Then he proposes to Liz, and she says no. He's like, okay, bye, suckers. I'm out of here. Yes, he's taking Aiden with him after all the time that we said, why? Since when is Lucky a deadbeat dad? This is a guy who, when we first met him, A, was perfectly happy to raise Cameron as his own, okay? B, considered Jake his own son to the point where when Jake was dead, Lucky went to find him and said to Elizabeth, I brought our son home. He was so excited when Aiden turned out to be his biological child, and now he's leave. What happened? What happened? I don't understand.
First of all,
what was
why
his story?
was he proposing to Liz in the first place like that quick?
Yeah, that's the other thing. When did they fall back in love? Was it off? Well, okay, a lot of stuff happens off screen in Port Charles, to be fair, but come on.
It's like they saw each other 3 times and he's like, marry me right now.
That's so sexy to get an ultimatum like that.
And if you don't marry me, I'm hightailing it out of here with our kid. What?
Yeah.
I did
So
not
that was by Lucky, but oh my God, hello, Erica Slezak. And we don't know who she's going to be. Now, we know that they could be in the same universe because All My Children and One Life to Live are definitely in the same universe. And we know they're in the same universe because Nora Gannon Buchanan came
Yes.
over from One Life to Live to General Hospital. So we know they're in the same universe, which means she could be Vicky. Or considering that it's Erica Slezak, she could be Nikki. Or she could be Jean. Or she could be Tommy. Or Sneezy. Or Grumpy. Or our old friend Lurky from Beyond the Gates. But oh my God. But here's my concern. Look how we just wasted Lucky. What are we going to do with the gift that is multi-Emmy winner Erica Slezak? I am concerned.
Right?
They
Like,
don't do well with guest stars. They sign these big names, soap and otherwise, like when we had Martha Byrne. And, we had James Franco for a while. That was a little weird. But the point is, they're not too good with the guest stars, and they're getting someone who can do anything.
anything.
They are getting,
Multi-talented.
yeah, she can play
Any storyline
anything.
has got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hoping she's Vicky just because even though I wasn't a huge Vicky fan per se, I just think it's so important for fans to be able to hear what's going on with Vicky and what's going on with everyone in Landview. So I do hope she's Vicky, but whoever she is, I hope they don't waste her.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Young and the Restless.
Young and the
Oh my
Restless.
gosh,
So,
Young and the Restless.
Young and the Restless, Kyle has come up with something that I will fairly say has not been done on daytime before. You know how Beyond the Gates kept promising us something that had never been done on daytime before? Haven't seen that yet. I do think it's the first time where Kyle offered Victor that if Kyle makes Claire unhappy, Kyle will give Victor $5 million.
Because
First and foremost,
Victor's broken, needs the money.
well, first of all, 5 million means nothing to either one of them. It's a rounding error for Victor, and since Kyle worked so hard, i.e. not at all, to earn $5 million, it probably means nothing to him. But my question is, I feel like I'm the lawyer in this. I'm going to be the Michael in this. How do you quantify unhappy? Does it mean if they ever have a fight, which I believe couples do? I may not be so sure. I've only been married for 26 years, but I do believe that even happy couples sometimes have fights. And then unhappy, like I am sometimes unhappy when the dishwasher is not loaded. Does that qualify as unhappiness? What is unhappiness? Is this Claire, like if she stubs her toe and Kyle isn't there with a Band-Aid? What is unhappiness in this context?
Like, Kyle's gonna cheat eventually. He's an abbot. Of course he's gonna cheat. He's an abbot man.
Well, he's also an idiot. Let's not
Right,
skip
both of them.
abbot and idiot. That's a very bad combination.
That apple did not fall far from the abbot tree.
But at least Jack was charming. We got smiling Jack. We have chin wavering Kyle. Do you notice how whenever anybody goes up against Kyle, his eyes well up and then his little lower lip starts to tremble like he's going to cry? So we went from smiling Jack to I might cry Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm kind of hoping that if he has an affair with like Audra or Summer, especially Summer, can you imagine Summer coming back having an affair with him and Summer's like, that's cool. I'll pay my grandpa the $5 million. Right? Like, most expensive sex of your entire life.
but I'm worth it. That's Summer. But Phyllis would tell her she was worth it.
Do you remember when Phyllis tried to kiss Kyle to stop Summer from dating him?
Yeah. But I'm sure Phyllis assumed that she would just rock Kyle's world to the point where he could never have another woman again.
Oh,
Doesn't that seem like that? Those are the thoughts that would go through Phyllis's mind. Because right now, Phyllis is so busy going around town telling everyone, I'm the smartest person in Genoa City. Those words actually came out of her mouth. They were not ironic or as a way to get something. She has actually said those things. So she is convinced that they will get to Dumas. Dumas? 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 Who is Dumas? Dumas? Dumas. That when she finally sees Dumas, he will be so overwhelmed by her charms that I guess he will give her chancellor. Sure, that's what millionaires do. Again, remember how I don't have a gun guy, I don't have a camera guy, I also don't have a billionaire guy, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. But do billionaires just go around giving out companies to people? Is it like a Santa thing?
If they do, and any of them are watching, hi.
But are you the smartest woman in the world like Phyllis?
I mean, I could be for $1 billion.
That's true. That if you got $1 billion, I would think you were so smart, Amber.
Right? If
So
anyone wants to just give
meanwhile,
us a company, that'd be great.
Meanwhile, Billy also thinks that I guess Dumas will hand him the company and then he will take over Victor, defeat Victor. And Victor seems to kind of quasi believe it enough, and that he has ordered Adam to stop Billy. Meanwhile, Chelsea, the professional con artist, is there. Does that mean doing something bad? I can't imagine doing something bad. And Adam asks her, so why are you so busy defending Billy? Oh, it's because that would be wrong. And first, Chelsea wouldn't do anything wrong. And also, oh, it's for Connor and for Johnny, blah, 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 blah. Here's my theory, okay? Here's my theory, Chelsea. She knows she and Adam aren't in this for the long haul. She knows they're going to break up eventually. So she's got to keep Billy sort of like, in the background, like a backup guy is what I always call it.
Yes.
There's always like
Yes.
sort of the guy in your life who's backup guy, who when the other stuff doesn't work out. So I think Chelsea's just keeping Billy there as backup guy. It's not that she wants Billy per se. It's just that she knows she and Adam are going to implode, and then someone's going to have to support her lifestyle of whatever it is she does. So I do think that she is just keeping sort of Billy dangling there, and that's why she doesn't want him destroyed, because he will have to support her lifestyle, whatever it is she does. But meanwhile, back to Dumas. Dumas. Who's Dumas?
I'm so
Who's Dumas?
tired of
Who's
it.
Dumas? I know,
Stop
I know. I was just
enmity.
thinking about you. I was thinking about you when they said they kept talking about it, and then Damien worked for Dumas, but has no idea who he is. Okay, to be fair, when I worked for Procter and Gamble Productions, I never met Mr. Procter or Mr. Gamble. I also assumed they're dead because the company is old. But I also never really met, the chairman of the board. But still, I kind of knew who he was because we get memos and there'd be photos and things like that. So I'm really curious who he is at this point and why it's worth keeping a secret, because so far we've been through like every possible iteration. It's Holden, it's Kane, it's Tucker, it's Gloria. I keep coming back to
Esther.
Harrison.
Oh my God, can you
Esther,
imagine being Esther?
we discussed this last week, and I think we should continue going with that. It's an Esther and Mamie cabal.
I love that idea.
They pooled their money that they'd been saving because, they were both live-ins, so they
Yes.
didn't have household expenses, and now they are Dumas. I think you're
Yes.
really onto something.
I did an interview with Kate Linder a bunch of years ago, and I said, if you could pick any storyline for Esther, what would it be? She's like, I just want her to be on top for once. Fully agree.
All
Put
right,
her on
so
top.
we
Let her have a
we
company.
have okay. Well, look, Beyond the Gates listened to us about Madison's age, and like 2 days later, they were
Right.
explaining it. So I figure when we're talking next week, we will by then know that it's definitely Esther, and I'm going to throw Mamie's hat into the ring just
I
just
like
for the
Mimi's hat being in the ring too.
Yeah, all right. So that's it for now. I'm Alina Adams. My soapy historical fiction novel, Go On Pretending, is available now wherever books are sold. And check it out more on alinaadams.com.
And I'm Amber Sinclair, managing editor of Soap Hub. You can find me here every week or on TikTok under the username Destroy the Canvas, where I showcase my silly art. I'll show you a picture of it here. Working on a children's book. This is Juliet. She's the cutest thing in the world.
She is.
So if you have children that want to check out some illustrative art, I'm on TikTok. And make sure to join us next week when we'll have even more to say about our favorite soaps, past and present. In the meantime, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit soaphub.com, where we have our recaps, our interviews, and spoilers. Anyway, we'll see you all soon.